Telhami, as I said, has just completed was receiving results of an extensive polling operation in the region. And I wonder, Shilbey, whether you can confirm the sense that many of us have that in the forthcoming Palestinian election, Hamas is likely to show very well.
Thanks very much, Yaz, and thanks also to Ann Joyce, who helped organize this and has been really a remarkable editor of Middle East policy over the years, and she deserves a lot of credit. I'm also proud to be speaking in this building where I once had an office in the golden era of this establishment when Lee Hamilton was the chairman of the subcommittee in the Middle East, and when in fact there were a lot of informational hearings. You know, this kind of hearing could have been held by a subcommittee. At that time, there were hearings on things like the water problem in the Middle East, and economic challenges in the Middle East, and all sorts of things that I personally also helped organize at that time. So it's a nice feeling to be back here. One does not have to glamorize or defend Hamas to note that U.S. approach to Hamas has failed. And one shouldn't glamorize Hamas. Hamas does target civilians, and that's morally unacceptable in any circumstances. And a secularist is inevitably uneasy about an Islamist or any religious party because one does not know whether in the end they would abide by the democratic rules or whether they would impose Sharia law, which is uncomfortable for most people, frankly for most Palestinians who are not religious. Those things are legitimate concerns to debate and think about and talk about. But the facts are the facts, and if you look at where we are, it's a policy failure, no doubt. Let's begin with Annapolis. When Annapolis was held last November, the theory behind it was, after the Hamas takeover of Gaza, that this is a way to bolster the moderates in the Middle East, to show that moderation and peace pays, and that militancy does not. And so in some ways, to make it more difficult for Hamas and make it and reward the moderates who would be negotiating, open up the new peace process with the government of President Mahmoud Abbas to show that moderation works. Well, we know the results, obviously, particularly because there's no significant peace move, but we can look at the public opinion polls as they have shown over the past really year and a half, I would say. And here I want to say that I am going to be releasing the 2008 public opinion polls in 6 Arab nations. It's a very significant poll of 4,000 people on a lot of issues, not only on the Arab-Israeli issue, but on Iraq, Iran, attitudes toward the U.S., global issues, regional issues, very complex. We're releasing it on Monday at 2 p.m. at the Brookings Institution, and we'll have it available after that. I'm still analyzing the data, so I'll just make some references to attitudes toward Hamas specifically from this data. But even from last year's poll, which I conducted in November and December of 2006, actually, released in February of 2007, when you ask people to take a position on the Palestinian issue, what you had in the Arab world outside of the Palestinian areas, what you had is a majority of people saying they support a national unity government above all. But of those who didn't support a national unity government, who took sides with Hamas and Fatah, by a wide margin, they supported Hamas over Fatah at that time. What we see in the results, and I don't have the final results, but I did look at them to say with confidence, that this year you have something very similar, where of those people who take sides between Hamas and Fatah, more people take Hamas's side over Fatah's side in Arab public opinion. And this is confirmed by my most two recent trips to the Middle East, including just a couple of weeks ago in Saudi Arabia, in terms of how I was reading public opinion. And when I say public opinion, I should say that governments obviously have taken different positions. We're talking here about public opinions. Governments, particularly those that are friendly with the U.S., certainly don't want to see Hamas win. They're threatened by it. And some of them want to deal with it because of reality, but they don't want to see it have an advantage. So it's a complicated picture in relation to them. But public opinion, there's no question, if we're looking at weakening Hamas in public opinion and showing that moderation pays, that's certainly not the outcome that we have in public opinion across the Arab world, at least the 6 countries that I've surveyed, which include Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Morocco, the United Arab Emirates, Jordan, and Lebanon. Now, why, might you ask? Well, let me give you 4 reasons, context, for Arab public opinion. The first is really not so much about Hamas and Fatah. If you recall that the Palestinian elections were held in the context of the American advocacy of democracy. This was the issue. The United States said, in fact, some of the justification